Okay, so let's firstly start with my introduction. My name is Saurabh Bansal. So currently I'm working as a software developer at AppBrew. Okay, and also associated with Geeks for Geeks as a mentor. And previously I was working as a full-time mentor at Geeks for Geeks. And earlier also I have experience of like software developing as well as teaching as well. So I've been on the YouTube as well from a very long time and have been teaching from a very long time. Okay. So today in this session, we are going to discuss about the Mern and the importance of projects. Okay. So is my screen visible to you all? Please let me know in the chat section. Is my screen visible to you all? Please let me know in the chat section. Okay, nice. So let's talk about let's talk about full stack web development. If you have any questions, you guys can ask me in the chat in the YouTube chat section. Full stack web development. Let's start with the introduction of this technology, which is going to be full stack web development. So what is full stack web development? Let us firstly define this thing. Full stack web development is nothing. Basically, it's a development of websites. It is a development of websites. It's a development of websites. Development of websites. In three things. First is front end. Second is back end. And third, we are going to understand about databases. Database. Front end, back end, and database. When you are very comfortable and you understand how to make front end, how to make back end, how to make data, how to integrate databases, then you are called a full stack web developer. Okay, full stack web development is all about front end, back end, and databases. Yes, yes, yes. Priyal Gandhi, we are going to discuss this part as well. So let's discuss the technology which the Mern, basically, if we want to learn Mern or full stack web development, what are the technologies we need to learn? So first technology which we have to learn is HTML. Second is CSS. Third is going to be JavaScript, which is the basically heart of web development. Then we have to understand about GitHub, Git/GitHub. Let me tell you about all the technologies in very detail. Okay. So what is HTML? HTML is nothing but HTML helps us to create the structure of a website. Okay. Like see, we have like in a website, what we have is we have this like kind of nav thing. This is called navigation bar, which is nothing but a nav bar. Okay. How to make the structure of it, how many buttons do this nav bar will contain is decided in the HTML part. Then we have a footer. Okay, this is also the part of HTML. Then we have a sidebar and other contents over here. This is all basically the structure. Okay, if we want to give the structure to our website, then we have to use the HTML for this part. Okay, let's answer some questions which are in the chat section. Okay, can you explain what is Mohan? Priyal Gandhi, we are going to discuss it. नो हेलो कौन सा डे है दिस इज फर्स्ट डे क्या एआई से वेबसाइट बन सकती है यस actually the answer is yes and no both because if you are making a very basic website then it can be made through AI but is yes if you are making a product so that it may be it is profitable and if you want to do business then it can't the AI cannot make websites. Okay. So if you are making small projects for college or maybe or for something like if you are doing like projects or maybe for colleges if you are making projects or making simple websites like for example to calculate BMI body mass index and simple things then surely AI can make those things. Okay, but if you want to make some good things, some websites like Flipkart, Amazon, or something like that, okay, the website which has a lot of features and you want to do some business over that, then AI can't make. Okay, yes. Okay, now let's go towards this part. HTML is used to make structure of websites. Then, as we have created the structures now we want to design the things. Okay, basically we have given the structures, but we have not given the right colors. We have not designed the website accordingly. We have not decided that where should this sidebar should be positioned, either on the left side or on the right side, or we want in the top of the website, or we want it on the bottom of the website. Then we have to use the CSS part. If you want to do any designing work, any styling work, then you have to use CSS. Okay, is it clear to everyone? Please let me know in the chat section. Yes, we are going to cover everything. Okay, JavaScript. Now, the main thing which is JavaScript. JavaScript is a language. Okay, JavaScript is a language which gives functionality to our websites. Like if I just click on this button, then something is going to happen. Like let's assume that it is going to be a login button, or maybe it's going to be a home button, or it's going to be a about button, about section button. And let's assume that it's a YouTube video. So if I just click on this YouTube video, then I should go on a page where the YouTube video will play. YouTube video is going to get play. Okay, so for these parts for everything, like for every functionality, we have to use JavaScript. For any animation that is running over here or in the websites, JavaScript is important. For any logic part, we have to use JavaScript, and JavaScript is the heart of web development. If you are not comfortable in these three technologies, then you are not able to learn any type of full stack development, any type of stack. You will not able to learn anything. Okay, these are the basics and most fundamental parts of the website. Okay, then let's understand about Git GitHub. What is Git GitHub? Okay, Git GitHub is nothing but a VCS. VCS is nothing but version control system. Version control system. Okay, so GitHub is very important. If you are doing coding collaboratively, let's say we have three teams in our company. Let's say we have front end, back end, and mostly there is a team called back end maintains database. But let's assume that we have another team which is maintaining database and other things, and then they have to do the code separately. Okay, front end team will do some code, back end team will do some code, database team will do some code, and one day we have to merge all these codes to make the outer, like, the outcome of the products. So in that part, GitHub is very important. Also, GitHub is used in a lot of things like VCS, version control system. Basically, it will store all the information, all the versions of our website, or maybe any project we are making. Okay, GitHub will store all that information, that at what point, what is the code, and what point, where is the code. So all these things are managed using GitHub. Okay, is that clear to everyone? Please let me know in the chat section. Is that clear? Please let me know in the chat section. I will tell you about more about course. Okay, now let's talk more about Mern technology. Now, when you are very comfortable in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, then you have to pick a stack. Okay, basically a technology stack, which is in our case is going to be Mern, and Mern is the most popular, uh, most popular tech stack in the website development. So Mern is basically nothing but Mern stands for MongoDB. Then we have Express.js. Then we have React.js, and then we have Node.js. So all these technologies conclude, if you know about these technologies, then you are very good in full stack web development, and you know now you are able to create front end, back end, and databases, how to manage those things. You are very comfortable in this part. So now firstly we have React.js. Let's understand about React.js. React.js is nothing but a library created by Facebook. library created by Facebook. Okay, so React.js is very important because it allows us to make different components which are reusable as well. We don't have to create, like if our website has 50 pages, we don't have to create 50 pages, 50 navbars for us. Either we can use the same navbar. Okay, so React helps us to create reusable components, and React is very efficient when we call about the DOM manipulation. Basically, DOM manipulation is nothing but when we like click on a button and something is changed on our website. So basically it's nothing but our page is changing. Okay, so React is very good at DOM manipulation, means React will change only that part of the website. So it's very efficient and it's used in currently Facebook, and I think also Instagram also. And a lot of websites are powered through React.js. React.js is a very powerful library. If you are very good at React, then surely you are going to get a job. Okay, there are a lot of companies, like there are, I think there are 70% of companies, if they are in a website development, they are using React.js. Okay, then we have Node.js. So basically there is a problem when we are creating a website, and Node.js solve that problem. So firstly, like when Node.js was not available, so firstly we used to create our front end using JS. So we have to use JS for our front end, like either in the form of React JS, maybe in Angular JS, or maybe in Vue JS, or maybe in a vanilla JavaScript. We are creating the functionalities in JS front end, but backend, for the backend part, we have to use some other languages like Java. Maybe we can use for Java as well, Java, C++, Python, or maybe some other languages which is available in the market at that time. So we have to use basically two separate languages to create the backend, or we have to use basically other languages, like we have to get two developers for that part. So Node.js solved this problem. So previously when Node.js was not available or not introduced in the market, so only in the browser the JS is going to run. Okay, but one developer has taken the JS engine from the browser and put it in the system. Okay, put it in the backend and given an environment to run outside the browser. So basically, Node.js is nothing but Node.js is an environment to run JavaScript outside of the browser. And it has some more functionality as well for the backend part, like creating files, creating paths, creating cryptos, and a lot of things. So Node.js is nothing but Node.js is a way. Node.js gives JS an environment to run on backend. Okay. So now Node.js has solved a very big problem of Node.js has solved a really very big problem, that now we can create the backend and front end. Backend plus front end in the JS language only. Backend and front end in only the JS language. Okay. So backend and front end is created in this part. Now Express.js. Express.js is also a library for JavaScript. Library of JavaScript. Library of JS. Okay. Library of JS. Express.js is a library of JS where we are able to create servers. Okay. Through Express.js, we can create servers. A lot of servers can be created, and creating a server from Express.js is really very easy. Either creating the server from Node.js. Okay, it's very easy to create servers, and MongoDB is very important. MongoDB is nothing but a database. DB stands for database over here. So we have a database. So database allows us to store the data, all the websites data, and all other things. We can store it in MongoDB. Okay, so that's all the part of like Mern stack development or full stack web development. That is basically kind of a roadmap that what we have to follow while you are learning about the full stack web development. Is there any doubts you have regarding to these technologies? If you have any, you guys can ask. If you have any doubt, you guys can ask. Okay, I think there are no doubts. So like there are a lot of people who used to learn all these things, like all these technologies. They have learned about HTML, they have learned about CSS, they have learned about JS, and the whole Mern as well. But still, there are a lot of people who are not getting job, and the reason is only one reason, which is they have consumed all the theory part. They have consumed all the theory part. They now know about everything about theory. But but in the real time, when you are going in a company, you have to work on code, work on actual project, work on actual project. And nowadays, companies want people who have worked on some good projects. Okay, now people wants people who have worked on good projects, good things. Okay, good scalable projects and so on, and have practical knowledge too. So here comes the part of projects. And projects are very, very, very important. If you are learning about any technology in coding, like in computer science, if you're learning about any technology, projects are very important. And especially in the Mern part, project is very important. Projects are very important. Projects are very important. So now, according to you guys, let me ask you one question. Okay, according to you guys, what is the importance of project while we are learning any technology? I want to ask you guys that according to you guys, what is the importance of project? I'm waiting for your responses. Yes, first answer is to gain practical knowledge. My question is, what is the importance of projects to gain practical knowledge? Okay, I have got that. My question is that what are the importance of project while you are learning any technology? Yes, help to gain languages and comfortable in languages. Good. Comfortable in languages. Rohit Pandit, please don't spam in the chat section. Interact with real world works. Yes. Interaction to real world problems. Interaction to real world problems. Yes, we have got that. I just want some points. You guys are missing. Yes. Proper designing. Yes. Proper design and structure. Structure. Yes. Implement the ideas. Yes. Anyone else? Yes. So I've just got some really good answers. Okay. Now, what I want is, let's understand why are projects very important. Okay. Firstly, like see, Why I'm learning Mern stack or why I'm learning full stack web development, let's understand firstly that part. To get a job. Okay. The main thing is to get a job or maybe to create something. Okay. To create some like startup or maybe something like that. Okay. Firstly, if I'm learning, like let's understand the goal. Why we are learning coding, why we are understanding so much things, why we are learning all these technologies to get a job. And like see, my majorly all of you want to have a good job, but understand this thing that when we will go in a job, we have to do some work on real life things or real life projects. Okay, so projects are very important. Why? Because if you have not created something or if you have not made something, then how would you know that what to do in this thing? Okay, what to do, what to work on that part, how to solve a real life problem. Why the companies are here? What are companies doing with all these software engineers? They are solving a problem. Okay, every software you see is solving a problem. Like, see, if I just talk about, uh, just give me a moment. Actually, someone is on gate. Huh, sorry, someone is on gate. Okay. So we are understanding about that. What are the importance of projects? So, like, see, when what are the companies doing with all these software engineers? They are solving some problem. Okay, they are solving some problems. If you see any software, if you are using any software that is solving your problem, like if I just talk about Amazon, Flipkart, they are solving your problem. What problem? That if you want to buy something, you can directly go and buy on Flipkart, Amazon, Mintra. There are a lot of websites. If you want to book a ride to go somewhere, you can use Rapido, Uber, and Ola. There are a lot of companies to do that. If you want to order food, Zomato, Swiggy, there are all they are softwares, they are solving some problems. And when you will go in a company, you have to solve problems, you have to do things, you have to build something. And if you have no knowledge of building something from scratch, how to think of a project, how to, like like if I say you that please make a dynamic search bar for me, dynamic search bar for me, like that someone can put like query in it, and you have to build that. How you will build, how you will start a project, how would you think about that problem and solve that problem using code. That is very important, and you will gain all these knowledge using projects. If you build a lot of different type of projects, then you will set to learn, then you are going to learn a lot of things, that how to solve problems, how different problems are coming in our code, and how to solve those problems, how to start a project, how to end the project, like what are all the things you have to keep in mind while you are working on something. Okay, you have to see all those things. And obviously, the point defines clearly for the first point to gain practical knowledge about how to solve problem in real life. Comfortable in languages, yes. When you will create the projects in HTML, CSS, JS, or using the merge tag, you will be very comfortable in all those merge tags. And after getting the knowledge of whole theory, then you have to implement all those things to learn more about these things. Okay, then interaction to real world problems. Yes, I have defined that. That let's say we have some problem and we have to make some project out of that. How to convert our thoughts into code, you will learn after creating a lot of projects. Proper design and structure is also very important, because UI and UX are very important. Yeah, UI is what user interface, what we have created. Like, see, the interface is very helpful. Like, see, and the designs are very important. Why? Because a beautiful looking website attracts more people. That means more people means more business. Okay, implement the design which is same and nothing here. Yes, to prove our skill, and also to crack the interviews. Okay, nowadays companies have one thing in common. If you are getting going for an interview for a full stack web developer or front end web developer or back end developer, they have one round called machine coding round. Any one of you know about that machine coding round? Anyone? Anyone from you guys? Do you know about machine coding round? Anyone? Anyone out there? Do you guys know about machine coding round? I'm waiting for your responses. No. Okay, I've got one no. Okay. So let's understand more about this machine coding round. So machine coding round is not very new, but yes, it's new in I think 2024 and 2025. They have started this thing, machine coding round, which is nothing but they want to test that you guys can code or not. Okay. Yes. They have started this machine coding round has been started in 2024-25, where firstly the rounds is of like part where the interviewer will ask you a question and you have to give the answer, and they will test that how you are that you are comfortable in all the things, all the logics, all the concepts of JS or maybe any language which you are giving interview for. Okay, now the machine coding round basically tests that you will the interview will give you some problems, some small problems which can be covered in 40-45 minutes or maybe 1 hour or maybe 1.2 hour, 1.5 hour. Okay, they will give you a problem. Okay, the problem is nothing but it is going to be problem something like that you have to build something, you have to build something, build something using maybe JavaScript or maybe React or maybe any other backend technology. They let's assume anything, like say like when I was giving interview for my software roles, they have asked me a lot of questions. Like, see, firstly, they have asked me how to make a dynamic search bar, and they have also dynamic search bar. Also, they have introduced me. They have one of my interviewer asked me about infinite scroll, which is on like infinite scroll. I think I will tell you more about infinite scroll or maybe a tic tac toe game, tic-tac-toe game, which is nothing but a zero kata game. Okay, tic-tac-toe game, or maybe a to-do list, or maybe a drag and drop drag and drop feature, or maybe something like a carousel, or maybe accordions. I will tell you more about accordions. What are accordions? What are carousels? And there can be a lot of things. The list is never ending. Like, but majorly there are problems according to 2025 problems we have. Okay. Okay. So these kinds of problems you can make in 40-45 minutes or maybe 1 hour you will take. And the interviewer is going to see how you think about projects, how you are going to start and what type of things you are going to make. So firstly is dynamic search bar. Let's understand about dynamic search bar. Okay, what is that dynamic search bar? If I just talk about dynamic search bar, just give me a moment. If I have this, let's search for Flipkart. Okay, so this is a dynamic search bar. Let me tell you about more it. Like see, this is a search bar. You have to design it all the things. You have to put a good designing so that your design skills are tested over here. And then like if I just write something over here, then there are suggestions. Like if I just say iPhone 17 Pro, then you guys can see that there are a lot of suggestions for that. And if I'm writing it quickly, very quickly, if I'm writing something very quickly, let's see, if I'm writing something very quickly over here, iPhone, not iPhone, let's write as school bag or maybe t-shirt. If I'm just writing as t-shirt, then you guys can see that when I'm typing very fast, then the results are coming when I'm stopped typing. So all these things, optimization thing, how you are calling an API and what type of API, how many API calls are going, you have to all do that all. You have to do that all the things. You have to do all the things. Like on when interviewer is watching you, okay, you have to hold that pressure as well. You have to think about how to solve things, how to make good project, and he will also see coding patterns. So for all that part, you will need projects, and good projects will will teach you how you can make different things and how to make things which you haven't made that earlier. Okay, because problem can be new, problem can be also there are a lot of problems, and maybe the interviewer is in mood, or maybe he wants you to think of a new thing. Okay, maybe he can give you about that. So all these things you will get knowledge about these things after creating a lot of projects. That's where we have introduced about a 21 days 21 project course we have introduced about that, in which we are going to have 21 sessions, and each sessions we are going to make a new project which is defining. Like we will start from few projects are on HTML and CSS, few projects are only on the JavaScript, then few projects are going to be on the React part, then few projects are going to be on the backend style as well. Okay, so there are going to be a lot of projects. Okay, that's why where we have introduced these things. Okay, now let's take a 5 minutes Q&A session. Okay, after working on project. Yes, kind of a DSA round where they will like they will see that how much you are comfortable in technologies, how can you make something. Yes, yes, we are going to implement all the basics. We will also teach you basics of JavaScript which are used in that part, in that project. What we are going to implement in that project, we are going to tell you about that things as well. Any questions you guys want to ask? What are the 21 projects you will get to know if you go on our website? Then there is a list of projects. If you just go on the Geeks for Geeks website and search for 21 days, 21 project, then you are able to see all the projects. Okay, let's take a 5 minutes Q&A session. If you have any question, you guys can ask. They are going to be end-to-end projects. You can do the backend part using Python, but not the full stack programming. It's a paid course, so with. Okay. Now let's understand these all these things which I have told you. Let's make a small project and let's understand all these things. That what are what why the need of project is very important. Why you have to create a lot of projects to understand how to start a project and how to end a project. The next is the how to implement optimizations in that project. That is also very important. Okay. So so let's create a dynamic search bar. Dynamic search bar in React. Let's create a dynamic search bar in React. The prerequisite for this is you have to you should know about Mern stack web. You should know about full stack development and Mern stack. What you guys want to build? Like first option can be a dynamic search bar or maybe a to-do list. Anything, what you guys want? To-do list or dynamic search bar? What you guys want me to build? Dynamic search bar in React or to-do list in React? Anything, anything you guys want me to make. Or maybe we can build a pagination as well. Pagination functionality. First, okay, so I have got one vote for one. Dynamic search bar, okay. Okay, any other thing? I just want vote from you guys. Please be interactive. Let's just wait for 2 more minutes. To-do list dynamic search. So I have got a lot of responses for dynamic search bar. Okay, so let's start with the dynamic search bar in React. Okay, these are also there. These are a project is going to be in the React part as well. Okay, but let's go for dynamic search bar. So firstly, I will create a new folder that is called dynamic search bar. Let's open it in VS Code. Now we have to create one React project. We are going to create a React project using, let's create a React project using Beat. So for that part, we have to create npm create Beat at the rate latest. So I've clicked the enter button and let's see. Okay, the project name is going to be dynamic search bar. I have to create it with React, then JavaScript, enter. So while it's creating the project, let's do a cleanup the React project. And let's also delete the app.css. We have deleted the app.css. Then let's clean up the app.jsx, which is going to be RCFE. And we have created a React component over here, index.css. Let's clean this as well and put a basic styling in margin as 0 pixel, padding as, oh, let's not create, let's create padding as 0 pixel. Then we have box sizing as bottom box. Yes, then main.jsx, we can remove the strict mode for now. Okay, so this is all the cleanup part what we have done. Let's see this project. Okay, so we have this project as well from scratch we have done. Hey, I am app. Let's just see, is it working or not? Yes, this is working very much fine. Okay, now when creating anything like creating a dynamic search bar, let's just see how to start. So if I just told to make this, then firstly I will work on the UI part. Okay. Firstly, I will work on the UI part, then I will think about more things. Okay. Firstly, I will put an input tag because in the input part, user is going to write something. So I will use the input tag. Okay, like this, we have input tag. After giving the input tag, then we have to go for some dot suggestion container. Let's suggestion container dot suggestion. Let's create one suggestion and this p tag would be there where we are going to have some title of the title of any. title of product, as we are going to implement something like Flipkart, something like the Flipkart Flipkart's dynamic search bar. We are going to implement this. So let's open it in detail. So we can write something, some products. We can write products in this part like school bag or maybe some shoes. Okay. So we have to create something like this. Okay. We are not going to focus on, in this session, we are not going to focus on the part where we are designing a lot of things, but yes, we will make a basic designing. Okay. So what I can do is I can just use a const style object. We can take a style object like this, const style equals to, and let's create some style root as this. Yes. So for this style part, I can use style dot root. Here I've used optional chaining for this part. Let's create a flex, display as flex, display as flex, then justify content as center. Then we can have align or not align items. Let's see. Yes, we have got this. And we can also put flex direction as column. Direction column dot row. Just give me a moment. Why the flex direction is not working? Flex direction as row. Maybe we have to use column. Yes, now it's working perfectly fine. And now let's go and style the style equals to style dot input. Let's give some styling to this input tag, and let's say height is going to be 50 pixel. I just use 50, or maybe we can directly use 50. Yes, and width is going to be 300. As this is going to be a project, yes, we have this. And as we have given align item center, we have to give align items center. Yes. Now we have got something like this, and let's give a padding of 10 so that it will come like this. And let's decrease the height of this project. Yes, now it's looking nice. And let's give it border radius is 16. And also let's give it a padding of 10, maybe 10, not 5. Let's give it padding of 5 so that we can write something over here. Okay, and also let's remove this border, sorry, outline. That blue thing doesn't look nice. Outline as none. Yes, now we can write something like here. Okay, and also we can give the border color as border as 1 pixel solid black, which will look fine. Now it's looking fine, yes. And let's create some designing for this part so that the designing part is entirely finished. We have this suggestion container. Okay, and then we have, sorry, style dot, and then we have style equals to style suggestion, and then we have So let's give it some height, width, and maybe we can give some border radius as well. And border should, we should also give a border. Okay, style dot suggestions. Is the style is going to them? Yes. And also we can give them flex direction, justify content as center. Justify content as content. ENT. Yes, also we can give them a border radius of 4 so that it is different. And height of 25, I think, would be enough. And width can be a little less, 250 is fine. And also we can give it as margin top of 5 pixel. Yes, margin top of 5 pixel now. Yes. So currently my UI is done and we don't need any, we are not going to put any like search button because Flipkart is not having any search button. And when you will just write down something over here like iPhone, something like that, or maybe something like say, let's say towel. If I just want to, there is no search button and there is a suggestions we can click over here. Okay. Is it clear to everyone? Please let me know in the chat section. Now we are starting with our main project. We have done with the basic styling. We are done with the basic styling. Now let's create the project. Okay. Now let's move to the functionality bar, which is the main part. Okay. So now what is going to be the first step? How you guys think about the first step? Okay. I just want to hear from you guys so that I can tell you one more about this. What is the first step we should do? And how you think about projects? Please tell me in this part. Yes, please tell me how you guys think of a project. What is the starting step? Already I've told you that we have done the styling, but yes, what is going to be the step? First step you guys want to, you will implement if you are like interviewer has asked you about to build this, then what is going to be the first step from you guys? Anyone, any idea? Anyone, any idea? Okay, so let me tell you about this thing. Okay, what is the first step which we are going to have? Okay, what how I think of a project. So when I was building projects or when I used to build projects, or like how I think of, I think that how the user will interact with my project, I used to build that part. Okay, I used to build something like that. I used to think that how the user will interact with this project. If we are making it for some website, how will the user will interact with that? And I will break all those things. Like according to that, I will break in small problems and then will integrate step by step. I will build this project. Okay. Now, what is going to be the first step? First step is nothing but firstly, user will come and write something in the search. Write something in the search. Write some query, something in search. So the first step of building is whenever users will write something, let's say this is the search bar and user is going to write something in this part. I want this text. I want this text. Okay, I want this text. For this part, what we can do is we can make a state to store basically the search query. Okay, let's call it a search query. Whatever the user will write in this part, let's call it as search query. Okay, let's call it as a search query, and I want to get that search query with me. Okay, for that part, what I can do is I can create one state. Okay, let search query as set search query equals to use state, and initially it is going to be empty. And why it's giving error? Because we have not imported it from React. Okay, so now we have imported. Now what I can do is user is going to write over here on change. We have to provide an event listener to this part. Okay, okay. So we are going to implement a on change event listener over here. Basically, on when the user will type something, this event listener is going to be triggered. Okay, this event listener is going to be triggered. So handle input change. Let me write a function for this. Change. So I will create one function for this part, which is going to be const, or maybe we can give a normal function handle input change. Let's create one function which is going to have this function handle input change. Okay, we have got this. Now, what we can do? Now, this is going to have one event. Okay, let's firstly console this event. Let's see console.log event. Let's see where the search query is coming. Only the E part, sorry. Let's inspect this and let's see the console. Okay, whenever I just write something S. Okay, let's see that I have written only S. Okay, so what we have to test over here is that after writing S over here, there is a object in this event which is called target, and in this target we have got a value. We have got a value. So I want this value. Okay, let's try to write my whole name. SAURABH. So the last is going to have target, and that value, the value is going to have solve. Okay, yes, I want this thing. Okay, so now I have to store this text, this value in our state. So how can we store that? This is very easy. You have to put set search query, which is the basically the function to set this search query state. Okay, and e dot target dot value. We have to implement e dot target dot value, and let's see is it working or not. Let us just console.log the search query. Let us try to put that is my state is having the search query or not. Let's just put this thing so that it may be very clear. Let's see. Currently my search query is empty. That's why it's giving me search query only. SAURABHBANSAL. So you guys can see over here that my search query is basically whatever the user is going to write over here is getting updated in my state. Is it clear to everyone? Please let me know in the chat section. Is this clear to everyone? Yes, I think this is very much clear to everyone. Okay, now what we have to do? I want the suggestions. Okay, now after writing something over here, the user wants the suggestions for what the user is writing for. Like say, let's say if he's writing for something, bed or furniture or maybe something else, so he want the suggestion for that part. Okay, for that part, what you can do is we need an API to get the result from that. Okay, so we can go on the dummy JSON API. Okay. You can go on the read docs part, and you can go on the products. where you will find a search API, search products. Yes, this search product, then we will get. Okay, let's see is that API working or not. You can see over here that this is the search query. This is what the user is going to, what the user has been writing over here. We have to pass over here, and then they will give me products for this part, which is phone, iPhone charger, and something related to phone. Okay, this is basically nothing but dummy suggestions. Okay, so we have got this. So what we have to do, when the user is changing this search query, we have to multiple times call this API to get the search suggestions results. Is it right? Please let me know in the chat section. Is it clear to everyone? We have got the API. So now, we have to call this API. How can we call this API? Anyone, any suggestions? Sorry, how can we call this API? How can we call the API? Anyone? Let's see. If you want to call an API in React, and it should be called using use effect. Okay, use effect has other uses too, but yes, for API calling, we can use the use effect. Okay, use effect is nothing but use effect is a hook. Okay, now in the use effect, okay, use effect has basically two things. First is a callback functions, which is called when there is some change in the dependency array. And what is dependency array? Dependency is array is going to be the second argument which we are going to pass in this part. So whenever the search query is change, we have to call the API. That means the dependency array will going to be contain search query, and this is going to get data. We have to basically call an API using a function which is called get data. And let's define the get data function as well. Function get data. This is going to be asynchronous function. Why it is going to be asynchronous function? Because we are going to call an API, and this thing may take some time. Okay, so that's why we have to create a asynchronous function. And how to create a asynchronous function? We have to use a async, and then let data, or maybe we can call it as API data, equals to await. Then we have to use fetch to call an API. Okay, and that API is this, and let's call this API over here. And instead of search query over here, we have to use the state, which is search query. We have to use this search query because dynamically this will be called. Okay, after getting this API data, we have to convert this data into JSON data. JSON data, as how to convert that? We have to use await, then API data dot JSON, and API data dot JSON. Then let's just console this, console.log JSON data. We need the suggestion. Just we are focusing on the suggestions part right now, and how to display that, how to do other things. We will discuss in detail in the next part, like in the next few minutes. Okay, let's see is the data is getting to us or not. Let's just try to console. Yes. Firstly, initially, as the search query is empty, that's why when the search query is empty, we are getting 30 products. Let's try to write iPhone. Okay. Now we are getting 8 products. Yes, we are getting the suggestions. And in this suggestions, in this basically whole response, let's copy this. And after copying this, let's put it over here. Let's paste it. Let's paste it. And after pasting it over here, then we can see that it has products data, and then we have some other data, total it, skip is this, and other data. But we are only interested in this part. Okay. Now what we can do in this thing, what we can do over here, what we can do in this thing. Okay. We just need this products data. So let's store this whole data in one of a new state. Okay. So I will make a new state which is called suggestion data, and then set suggestion data. We have to use set suggestion data equals to use state, and it's going to be an empty array. Why it's going to be empty array? Because the products are coming in an array. Okay, now what we can do is set suggestions data. We can put it something like this: JSON data dot products. Is it clear to everyone? We have used set suggestion data as products, JSON data dot products. Now what we have to do, as now the suggestions are in the suggestion state, okay, are in the suggestion states, then what we have to do, we just have to show this in the UI. Okay, we just have to show this in the UI. And also we have to do one more thing, which is, like, see, initially I have not written anything, and still I think, okay, I have removed that. Okay, let's just put a console. Let's remove this console and let's see the JSON data. Let's just console it for some time. Or maybe we can console only the products. Let's see. Okay. Initially, you guys are seeing one problem, that we have not written something over here, and still this API is being called. Okay. So we can stop this API from calling because we don't need this. So what we can do over here is, I can write something like this: if search query dot trim means that if user have typed some spaces, also on that part we don't need to do an API call. Let's say I have just put it some spaces over here. I've just put it some spaces over here. Then also we don't need to call the API. Dot trim dot length. If that length is 0, meaning the search query length is 0, then we have to return from this function. Then we don't have to call the API. That's why I've written if search query dot trim means removing the spaces from trailing like from the start and from the end. And then still if the length is 0, then don't do anything. Don't do anything. That means, okay, let's refresh it one more time. Now you guys can see that we are not getting any log, which means that we are not calling the API for an empty state. Is it clear to everyone? Please let me know in the chat section. Is that clear? Please let me know in the chat section. Now, now what I have to do? Okay, now what I have to do? I have just I have to map the all the things, like how we can map. Okay, we have to just show it on the UI. So we can go for suggestions data dot map. Suggestions data dot map, and it will contain one object like this. We have to get all those data like this. Okay. And can I write it as product obj? Let's write it as product obj. Then we have to go for something like this, and we have to return the JSX from here. So my JSX would look like this, and title of the product. What is going to be the title of the product? That is, this object has one title, which is product obj dot title. Product obj dot title, and let's give it an ID on the this part as a key. Key equals to product obj dot title. Sorry, not title, it's ID. Sorry. Let's see. Are we getting the suggestions or not? If I just write iPhone, you guys can see when I've written iPhone, still I think there is some mistake in this part. iPhone. Yes, I'm getting this iPhone. Okay. So there is some styling problem. Okay, let's just remove suggestion as min height. Align text align. Let's put in one text align as center. Yes. So this is looking like this. Okay. So now we have got the suggestions. Okay. Let's just do one more thing. Like if I just search for lipstick, I'm getting lipstick over here. But When I've just removed all the queries, all the length of the queries, still the suggestions are here. But I don't want suggestions. When I have just cleared all the queries, then what I can do? Anyone? Then what I can do? Then what I can do is I can conditionally render suggestions data, which what the condition is going to be the same. If the search query dot length is going to be zero, is of zero length, then what I can do is if this condition is true, okay, we can put not equals to zero, meaning if this condition is not true, then only do this thing. Okay, that means, okay, let's just write something lipstick. If I just written, okay, there is some problem with API, I think. I just write iPhone, and if I just cancel all those things, then you can see that there is no suggestions are coming right now. Is it clear to everyone that we have how we have created things? Is it clear for now? So now, when you have done with this thing, when you have done with these things, still there is some problem with your code. Why there is some problem with your code? Because see, if I'm writing very quickly iPhone, let's say, then the user just want to see the result for iPhone. But if I'm writing something like this, I, then P, then H, then O, then maybe the user wants to see all the results for I, then IP, then IPH. But if he is writing quickly, very quickly, iPhone, then he wants the suggestions for iPhone only. But, but, but where, what we are doing over here? Okay, let's make a console over here so that you guys can see. API called for, let me just write over here for this. But we are calling the API for everything. Okay, is we still, no, we're still not calling this. Yes. So iPhone, yes. So we are calling the API for all these things. Firstly, we are calling the API for I, then we are calling for the API for IP, then IPH, IPHO, IPHON, then we are calling the API for iPhone. And we are calling the server many times, but the user wants to see only the response for iPhone. And we are still calling this. And this is a very bad thing because we are putting a pressure and we are making a lot of calls on our server. This is making our things slow and costing high. And we have to somehow, we have to do this. We have to stop this. And somehow we have to stop this to making a lot of calls when user is typing very fast. But yes, we have to call this a lot of time if user is typing very slowly. Is it clear to everyone? Please let me know in the chat section that what we can do over here is. So the question arises is that what we have to use over here is debounce. What the debounce says? Debounce says that make the API call for the end result only. Don't make a lot of API calls. Either make the API call only on the when the API call is needed only. Okay. Now how to implement that? Now, if the user is typing fast, we have to only call the API when the user stops for some time. Okay. When the user stops for some time, we have to call the API only. And what we can do for this part is what we can do is we can use some delay. Let's say let's say we have used some timer called 300 milliseconds or maybe 400 milliseconds, and user has typed I, and now as this timer is going on, timer is going on 3 sec. We are calculating 300 milliseconds. Okay, user has added IP. Now this 300 millisecond haven't completed yet. Now user has typed IP. That means user doesn't want any result from I. So we will cancel this I call and we'll make the new call as IP. Now this is also waiting for 300 millisecond. Now user has before the API call will go in 300 milliseconds, but the user has after, like, let's assume 100, after 100 milliseconds user has taken one IPH. So now we have to call, that means the user don't want the result for IPs. Now we have to cancel this call as well, and now we have to make another call for IPH. Still, now the user has making another change in the query, which is IPHO. Now we don't want the result for this part. Okay, so now how can we do that? Using How can we do this? We can do this using the set timeout. We can do this using set timeout. Now, how can we do that using set timeout? So basically, set time is nothing but set timeout takes one function and one timer. Okay, okay, we can use this. So you can use this as set timeout. Set timeout takes one function, and in that function we can call this API get data, and also we can put the timer. Let's say we have used 300 or maybe 400 milliseconds. We have used this one. This set timeout, this set timeout will be giving you an ID, and that ID we need to store in a ref. Why in a ref? I will tell you. Timer ID goes to use ref. We have to use another hook for this part. Why? Let me tell you. Let's just firstly import this. Why ref? By because let's just put timer ID dot current goes to use it. Why we are not using a state over here to store this? Because see, whenever the query will change, we have to call this API. Whenever the query will change, search query will change, we have to call the API. And whenever the state is changed in React, whenever the state is changed, the component is re-rendered. The whole component is re-rendered. When any of the state is changed, the component will re-render. Okay, now how can we do that? Now how this is helping us? Okay, okay, now let's say we have something like this and user is typing over in this search bar. Let's say he has written I. So we have make an API call. Let's say the timer is waiting for I, and we have that got that timer ID. Let's say we have got the timer ID as I have got the timer ID as I. Okay, I timer ID. That means I timer ID. Now the user hasn't finished the 300 millisecond timer, and someone has put an IP. Now, if the timer ID is still there, I will cancel this call, meaning the cancel this call, and will put IP as the new API call with the search query is IP. Okay, something like that. And when we are calling this, the timer ID dot current will always be resetted when the search query is changed. Because of why? Because of because when the component is re-rendered, this timer ID will be getting refreshed. If we are not using use ref, use ref will persist the data in this even after the component is reloaded. Component is re-rendered. The correct word for re-rendered. Re-rendered. When the component is re-rendered. So that's why we are using timer ID. And what we have to do is, if the timer ID dot current still exists, timer ID dot current is there. If the timer ID dot current is still there, we have to cancel the old. So we have to basically clear timeout. We have to use a clear timeout, and in this part we have to pass timer ID dot current. So what we will do is we will cancel the old timeout and we will make a new time. Okay, so let's understand it a bit. let's dry run this concept so that you guys can understand it very well. How does this work? So let's see, is it working or not? Okay. So firstly, what will happen? Let's say this is our search bar. This is our search bar, and someone has written I. Now, what will happen? As the as the search query is changed, this function is going to be run. This function, and initially the timer ID is going to be null. Timer ID. Let's say this timer ID. Initially, the timer ID is null. Initially, the timer ID is null. And when it is null, then timer ID dot current null is a falsy value. That's why it will not enter in this part. But yes, timer ID dot current, it will make another timer ID in call stack with a query as I. And this timer ID, let's say this is I1. And this will be stored in our I1 state, I1 ref. Okay. Now the user, this timer has not been finished and user has written IP. Now, as the search query is changed, the use effect will run, and still the timer ID dot current has I1, which is a truthy value. So firstly, this clear timeout will cancel this timeout and will make another API call. Another set timeout call is waiting for IP. And let's say this timer ID is IP1. Okay, now the new timer ID is stored over here, which is IP1. Now this 300, this is waiting to, the API is waiting to be called after 300 milliseconds, or no, sorry, 400 milliseconds. But the user, before completing the 400 milliseconds, user has typed IPH. Now, when the user has basically typed over here IPH, now still this is IP1. Now this will be cancelled and a new timer IPH will be there. And now let's assume that user has stopped typing over here. Now after the 300 400 milliseconds, after the 400, will this will do nothing but will call this get data function, and this get data function will call the API, and we will get the results, and it will be shown on the AI UI for us. Okay, let's see if I'm just writing, let's say this, yes, this API called is still over there. If I'm just writing very fast, then the API is only called one time, which is for iPhone. Okay, is it clear to everyone? The API is only called one time, but what if I'm just writing it very slowly? Let's say I'm writing it like slowly, very slowly. I firstly, now you can see that the API is called for I, then let's say IP, then it's called for IP, then H, it's called for IPH, O, N, E. Yes. If we are typing slowly, then the API is called for all the things, but when I'm typing it very fast, then it is only called for iPhone. Okay, then it's only called for iPhone. So that's how the basically the interviewer wants you to do this project. Okay, you to do handle all these things, handle all these things. Okay, you have to make a project, how you are starting the project, that will be just how you are making the variables name, that is also a very important thing to judge. How you are giving the function some name, that is also important. How you are solving any problem which is coming in your project, how you are solving those things, this is also one of the thing which is very important. And how you optimize those things, how after creating a project you optimize the things, this is also very important. And you will get all this knowledge, all these things, after creating a lot of projects, after going to a lot of projects, after going to a lot of optimization techniques. Okay, is this clear to everyone? Please let me know in the chat section. Is this clear to everyone? Please let me know in the chat section. If you have any doubt, you guys can ask me any doubt. Let's take a 5 minutes or 10-minute session for Q&A. If you have any questions, you guys can ask. And we are going to create a lot of projects in our 21 days, 21 project course. And that is going to be really helpful. And all the projects are going to be unique, very, very unique, and very, very, like, they are not discussed on like YouTube channels yet. There are a lot of projects in which you are going to learn a lot of new things. You guys can also follow me on LinkedIn. Let me show you my LinkedIn profile. If you have any questions, you guys can ask. You guys can also follow me on LinkedIn. I'm sending my LinkedIn profile in the chat section. If you guys have any doubt, you guys can ask me. I think that's all from my side. If you have any question, you guys can ask or you guys can leave this. So I think there is no questions from you guys. Okay. So let's just done with here. So bye everyone. Good night everyone. Have a nice day and have a bright future. I hope good for you all guys. Bye everyone.